In the intricate world of Korean affairs, tailored intelligence makes all the difference. Korea Risk Group's consulting services offer specialized, actionable intelligence designed to guide your Korea-related decisions. We provide bespoke consulting services that cater to your unique challenges and goals. From policy analysis to market entry strategies, we bring clarity to complexity. Transform uncertainty into opportunity and visit koreapro.com solutions today. Hello listeners and welcome to the NK News Podcast. I'm your host, Jacco Zwetsloot, and today I'm here in the studio with the brand newly minted Executive Director of Korea Risk Group. It's Jeongmin Kim. Jeongmin, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
And congratulations on your new position, boss.
Thank you.
Yes, so let's start with the really big news of the week, something that we've been talking about for months and months and months. Finally, Russia and North Korea have acknowledged that North Korean soldiers, in an organized way, are helping Russia in its war against Ukraine.
Right, Russia did it first. It's like it was also very official with the military chief confirming that they are using North Korean soldiers in its war against Ukraine. And this is interesting because we have been monitoring this for over a year, I think.
Yeah.
And then there was no really official confirmation in state media on either side. And even when in the Russian side, of course, there's no press conference in North Korea. Yeah. But when the Russian side is pushed, they would always use this diplomatic way of saying, oh, this is our sovereignty issue. Or, we have a mutual defense treaty, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, this is the first time. And then after Russia confirmed it, North Korea also followed through to actually confirm it as well, confirming that they have this heroic troop deployment to Russia. And they praise the North Korea-Russia alliance.
Now, I know that in the interviews with those two North Korean soldiers who were captured by the Ukrainians months ago, they said that they thought they were there fighting against South Koreans. That's what they'd been told. I wonder now that it's sort of out in the air, out in the open, it's public, I wonder if North Korea will change its messaging to its own soldiers now.
It seems like that is something that Seoul is keeping the closest eye on, right? The rhetoric towards the domestic public.
Right.
Because when Kim Jong-un decided to send the soldiers to Ukraine, it's a massive risk internally.
Yes.
Because first of all, you have to justify it ideologically that you're fighting in a foreign land with a foreign uniform for someone else.
And with weapons that really are supposed to be, theoretically, for the defense of North Korean territory.
Right. And also they are fighting against something that they have never done before, drones as well. And they have to explain it to their families. And so people were wondering, like, if they ever do that, how would they justify in their language and ideology? It does look like you mentioned, it was an organized way with Rodong Sinmun actually carrying it.
Yes.
So that's a big deal.
And so quickly after the Russian statement too, right? Within 24 hours.
Yes.
So it seems to be almost a coordinated thing.
Right. So coordination shows that they are also keeping a very close eye on the potential risks that might emanate from this. But it does not look like they are going into any potential languages related to the casualties.
No. So it brings up the big question, why? Why now? Why now suddenly both sides make it public?
It's really difficult to read so far based on what they have said, but there are like two widely different possibilities. One would be confidence that North Korea would be able to control the grand narrative in North Korea after people slowly starting to hear about it and looking at how North Korean state ideology about, the mutual defense treaty being so important, confidence in the ideology and consolidation. But the other side of it could be that North Korea might be considering actually pulling out soon or scaling back so that they can actually mention this now and try to control the narrative before it actually goes to the public.
Now, we don't have any evidence of why this announcement was held off for so long, but what does your intuition tell you? Do you think that it was North Korea that didn't want this to go public or Russia that didn't want it to go public? Or a bit of both?
My guess is North Korea would have had more reservations when it comes to making this public to its domestic citizens.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to explain.
Right.
Mutual defense treaty being important, it's easier to explain.
Yep.
but sending their own men to the territory, to the war where North Korea has nothing too direct to actually gain from.
Right.
That's actually very difficult to explain to the families, and also considering how North and South Korea are very, sons are important to their mothers. And you explain this to their mothers, how they had to die for someone else.
Yep.
That would have been something very, very difficult, even under like juche sort of ideology.
Right. Yeah, and even in North Korea, families are smaller than they used to be. So they don't have 3, 4, or 5 sons anymore. They may have 1, they may have 2.
Exactly. And from Russian side, I guess, there could have been reservations for different reasons, I guess, because they kept wanting to create the state narrative that this is a justified war.
Right.
And having someone fight for you from a country like North Korea is actually not a great optic, right?
No. Okay, well, that is, anyway, that's a big announcement to start off with. Let's go to a little bit of domestic politics here in South Korea, but relevant to North Korea.
Yeah. Well, it's a campaign season officially starts. So campaign season in South Korea, it's very strict, actually. The election law is very strict. So it won't happen until like mid-May. But right now what's happening, we have seen in the past week or so, is Democratic Party decided who will run for the presidential election. Like, we didn't know who's going to run.
Yeah, no surprises there. It's Lee Jae-myung.
Yeah, it's 89%. That's amazing. That's historical landslide victory in a primary compared to any other candidates before.
Okay, but to be fair, I didn't even know who the other candidates were. And even when I looked at their names, I'm like, who are these people again?
A few Kims, I would say. A few Kims. Gyeonggi Governor Kim Dong-hyun, who came in second, and Kim Kyung-soo, the former South Gyeongsang governor, and someone who was considered like a rightful son to Moon sort of figure in the past before he went into prison for election law violation. Anyways, Lee won the primary, and PPP is still trying to figure out who's going to run, and we'll figure out by May 3rd when they do the party convention, or actually it could be today on Tuesday.
Goodness.
And with Lee Jae-myung, when it comes to North Korea,
yes,
in the past few months, visiting DC as well, I got a lot of questions from people who monitor South Korea, what Lee Jae-myung's North Korea direction might be.
Right, because there used to be a lot of engagement when he was the governor of Gyeonggi province. He was, trying to do direct, province to province relations there under Moon Jae-in. He sent a lot of money to North Korea. Is that allegedly, or is that proven now? Allegedly siphoned.
Allegedly orchestrated someone sending money to North Korea for multiple purposes, such as him potentially visiting North Korea.
And I think there was the amount that was mentioned was like $7 million or
$8 million.
Oh God! Well, okay, quite a bit of money.
Maybe currency difference now.
Right, that's true. Yeah. So he's been pro-engagement a lot. He's talked a lot about it, but now, on this and on some other issues, he seems to be the kind of amnesia candidate that he's kind of...
That's a perfect way to put it, actually.
Right?
And selective amnesia.
Selective amnesia. Oh, did I say that? Well, maybe not now.
Yeah. He just pretends he never said that before.
Right.
So to run through it just very quickly.
Please.
So I baseline his 2017 speeches to the 2025 ones. So 2017 was when he was running against then primary candidate Moon Jae-in. He lost to that, but it was the first time that he was running for a presidential race. But he sort of put himself as a figure who will be the most progressive of all, right?
Right.
And he went for ideas in his kickoff speech in issues such as not just anti-chaebol and all those stuff, but also opcon transfer as soon as possible.
Right.
And GSOMIA, getting rid of GSOMIA, the intelligence sharing pact with Japan, and also removing THAAD.
Oh, yeah.
And also he sort of positioned himself as someone who will inherit the Kim Dae-jung, Roh Moo-hyun era sunshine policy, pro-engagement with North Korea to bring peace to the peninsula. And then fast forward 2021 when he was running against Yoon, where he lost with a super thin margin. Then like the ideology side sort of went down a little bit, but then he still mentioned North Korea from the DP party charter as one of the first sentences that in his kickoff speech, saying that, bringing a peaceful peninsula is one of the top priority goals for the party.
Right.
But now, none of that.
None of that. No, what's the phrase he's using? Aggressive conservative?
Right, he's using something like that is sort of like a legacy language from the past.
I'm going to call it aggressive amnesiac.
Yeah, something like that. And then he also calls like conservatives like very corrupt as well, which is a language he used in the past too. But also So there were multiple speeches. There was kickoff speech, there was a video that showed policy, and also there was an acceptance speech over the weekend after he was selected as a candidate. In the kickoff speech, no North Korea mention at all. And only one mention of Trump as a geopolitical context rather than any policy views.
Yeah.
And in other interviews, he would occasionally say that, peace with North Korea is important. And because of Yoon's policies being too aggressive, we are led to this situation where peace is, not stable. And also, U.S. alliance is important. He kept saying that, like no mention of OPCON transfer or thought or anything.
Right.
And now he is also saying peace is important, but we have to sort of coordinate with the U.S. to achieve all of this.
Yeah, and it's more of a peaceful coexistence line now that North and South Korea will live separate lives but peaceably next to each other, rather than let's do economic cooperation and collaboration and cross-border projects and things like that, and with a view to ultimately reunifying.
Right, so that was the philosophy that Moon Jae-in, the former president, held when he delivered that big liberation speech, remember, to prepare for 2045 unification.
Right.
But Lee isn't even going near that very deep philosophical sort of thought process.
Yeah.
He is just very generically mentioning whenever he is just pushed to answer North Korea questions.
Well, I think it's a little bit in line with Im Jong-sok's speech last year, the former National Security Advisor to Moon Jae-in, that he kind of said, let's leave it till the next generation. Let's not even talk about unification right now.
Im Jong-sok actually said that unification, we have to also agree with North Korea that it's impossible. But other DP people actually pushed back against him at the time. And Lee is not touching on the subject at all. So that's very interesting.
That certainly is. Okay. Let's talk about U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. He has made a public statement about North Korea. Once again, we've had a few of these in the last few months there in which it seems to be almost very close to crossing the line of calling North Korea a nuclear state.
Right, but it appears that, according to Andrei Lankov,
Hello,
Rubio,
Andrei, if you're listening.
Hello, Andrei. He was actually recalibrating the language a little bit, Rubio. So far, we have heard from multiple U.S. officials, including Trump himself, calling North Korea a nuclear power. But what Rubio said was North Korea is a nuclear-armed country. And Andrei's point is that this is actually a very different language compared to nuclear power, because nuclear power is a status in an international order and being accepted as a nuclear power. But nuclear-armed means that they have nuclear weapons and admitting descriptively that they do have it in fact, but not saying that it's justified or not.
I wonder if that's similar to language that's used to talk about India and Pakistan, for example.
Yeah, I think back in the days, this language was also very important. Like people used to keep a very close eye on these details, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, of course, we still do not yet have any timeline on the horizon of talks between North Korea and America. But if that war in Ukraine ends, with some sort of stalemate or ceasefire soon, things may change.
Right. Although there are other hotspots in the world right now, not just the peninsula. Peninsula is actually quite stable for different reasons. Sort of like calm before the storm, sort of quiet in South Korea. Actually, it was so amazing how people moved on so quickly from the Constitutional Court removal of Yoon. Like it feels like months ago now. People completely forgot about how it was this month, actually.
Enjoying the peace in the downtown Seoul area.
Yeah.
Lastly, quick story on North Korea launching its own 5,000-ton destroyer.
So this is the first of its largest new warship class. It was on Friday, I believe, on the West Coast. And this was something Colin Zwerko, our senior analytic correspondent, has been keeping a very, very close eye on. In one of the events recently, he predicted, I asked him to make a bold prediction about the military development in the coming years because, North Korea's 5-year plan is expiring soon, right?
Yes.
And he actually linked to past instances of North Korea arguing that U.S. warplanes shouldn't come nearby and they will shoot it down if they do in the future, right? They never did that.
No.
But what Colin was saying that if North Korea continues their focus on the warships, they could potentially make these into anti-air sort of capabilities and making them, capable of launching missiles from them.
Wow.
And actually use it for recon, anti-recon sort of purposes. So this is in line with those developments, and North Korea actually has been putting a lot of effort into building these warships.
Yeah, and this new one, it's the biggest one that North Korea has. They apparently built it in 400 days at the port of Nampo, just over a year. And it's more or less equivalent in the size or class to the U.S. Navy's Arleigh Burke class of guided missile destroyers.
I have no idea what that means, but it means it's freaking big.
It is. It's and that coupled with the super big submarine that they put in the water just recently shows that North Korea really has, and it's even stated this, it has aims to have a blue ocean navy.
Yeah.
To operate well beyond the peninsular region.
So that's the goal, it seems, and Kim Jong-un also claims that it will carry anti-aircraft missile capabilities and anti-ship, anti-submarine, anti-ballistic, anti-anything, basically.
Yeah, right. Wow. Okay, so that's a lot of things happening here on the Korean Peninsula.
Yep.
Thank you for coming in today, Jeongmin, and walking us through those stories.
Thanks for having me.
Looking to stay informed about South Korea's fast-evolving political, business and cultural landscape? Join us on Korea Pro, the go-to resource for in-depth analysis expertly curated by top-tier professionals. And now you can pick the membership level that best suits your needs, thanks to our new subscription packages. Starting at just $199 annually, you can access daily analysis and our weekly podcast. Or try our premium membership package, which offers additional perks such as executive briefings, monthly reports and forecasts, networking receptions and event opportunities, as well as much, much more. To find the best fit for you, just head to signup.koreapro.org and become a member today.
Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of our podcast episode for today. Our thanks go to Brian Betts and Alana Hill for facilitating this episode, and to our post-recording producer genius Gabby Magnuson, who cuts out all the extraneous noises, awkward silences, bodily functions, and fixes the audio levels. Thank you, and listen again next time.